things off this morning with that. I will be covering some annuity type conversations. Last week, we spent quite a bit of our meeting showing you some first presentation and second presentation videos that can be shared with folks that maybe don't show up for an appointment. And you can send them that video to say, hey, this is what we missed. We'd like to talk a little bit more about that. If they watch that short 5-minute video, great. And that might cause them to reconsider having a conversation with you. That is the hope after all. And then today I want to share with you one that's been created for annuities. Do any of you have, last week I put into the chat box those videos. Did I? I think I did. I can't remember. Yeah, I did. Okay. I know that they are obviously longer than 25 megabits. So sometimes I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly. They're just too much data to send other ways. But if it got into the chat box, that's cool. And you were able to double click on it and download it and save it to your own desktop. That's wonderful. Sometimes I can't even send it by email, let alone text. And so it has to be sent as a Google Doc or through a Google Drive. But anyways, I'm going to share a different kind of variation of that today. I also do want to talk about some other things specific to annuity and annuity training. But I also want to talk to concepts of mindset, what our minds should be and where our minds concepts and thoughts and processes should be. Really, to be ultra successful in any kind of endeavor, you have to steel your mind against pernicious and, oh boy, pernicious. I'm not sure where that word came from. I don't even know what that means. You need to steel your mind against bad thoughts. I know what bad thoughts are, so I can say that word. Bad thoughts that might lead you to quit or to give up or to try something different. Now, in the context of Afortus, I would welcome you to try anything and everything you can to get an edge, right? To figure out how to be fruitful and successful. Once again, many are, and so there's no reason why you couldn't be ultra successful too. And so in that vein, obviously, sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out your personality. Oh, thank you, Rick, for that. Maybe I was correct in using the word pernicious. The idea, of course, is you want to figure it out. And sometimes it's a matter of going in one way. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try saying it a different way. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try it this way. Oh, hey, I'm seeing a little bit more success by having the conversation this way. And sometimes it's just a matter of you figuring out your personality, right? And how to have that personality work and shine with those that you might be meeting with. We're all different and everybody's different. And sometimes personalities just don't mesh or match. And you got to do your best to have that mantle of I'm the doctor, you're the patient, but in a loving, comfortable manner, kind of guide folks through making decisions that will be helpful for them. And that's important. I want to start this morning, as we normally do, with a Q&A. So be thinking about any questions you might have. But I want to expound on that thought real quick. And as I've gotten into the habit of getting up earlier than normal, just to kind of get my day going and get my mind right and give me a chance just to sit in my office on my couch and deliberate on odds and ends. And sometimes I'll peruse through some of my social media, things that I find inspiring and uplifting. And I always have a nice hot chocolate. I don't know if any of you have heard of this perk. I think I got Rick knows about perk.
Oh, but, yeah.
I've got this new flavor of perk, which is it's a brown sugar Java. I'm not sure if I'm saying Java correctly, but anyways, it is delicious. And so I get it hot and I get my morning rolling with that. And what is fun is to kind of come across all kinds of things. Bless you, Anu, bless you, that are good for me, to inspire me, uplift me, and help me to get my mind right. And so I ran across something that I want to share with you this morning. It's a little video from Tom Brady, and it's really kind of speaking to what I've talked about so far this morning. Tom Brady is widely regarded as one of the greatest athletes in the history of professional sports, known for his leadership, discipline, and unmatched success. But his story is much like our story, or unfruitful folks in the beginning, right? Now, some would say, hey, the guy played in Michigan. He wasn't unsuccessful even in the beginnings of his career. Well, he was a third string backup at Michigan, still pretty impressive just to be on the football team, no doubt about it. But only in his last year did he really even get much playing time, and then came on as a third string into the NFL, which obviously is still quite impressive. It's interesting how we can say that someone who made it into the NFL, didn't have a whole lot of good things going for him. Just the fact that he was there, that's pretty dang impressive. But the opportunity arose. Drew Bledsoe, got hurt in one of the early New England Patriot games, and then that gave the window opening for Tom Brady to take advantage of. And sometimes we just need an opportunity, right? We just need that window to open up for us. Sometimes we just need to talk to that one person. And that one person can open up the whole world to you, not just by way of commissions and income to help solve an income problem, but also to open the light to, hey, shoot, if this person could feel comfortable with me and be willing to let me help them and trust me with their money, then maybe others will too. And there's great power in that, right? In just getting a taste of that success. And then it can build. So let me just share with you some thoughts real quick here in the beginning from the great Tom Brady. And this mentality, you guys, has got to be strong in you. You must have this mentality. And if you will, you'll have just that much more chance for a great deal of success with us here at Afortus. So without any further ado, Tom Brady.
Most people don't want to be pushed that hard. Yeah. They want to be pushed to their level of comfort. Yep. And once they're outside their comfort zone, they're like, oh, I'm not used to this. Oh, I don't like this. My heart's beating too fast. Or, man, I'm feeling different feelings and emotions. And it's like, that's where the growth lives. You need coaches that push you outside your comfort zone, because that's how you grow. And that's how you begin to develop self-confidence and self-esteem in what you're doing. Yeah. You try, you fail. They push you to deal with the failure. You get another chance to go and practice. Then you succeed and you realize, oh, that's what I need to do differently the next time. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the athletes who try something that's hard, they fail, and now it discourages them from trying the same thing that's hard again.
Isn't that interesting? Now, dang it, I forgot to maximize the sound. Could you hear that okay, though? Okay, good. Sometimes I forget to hit those buttons on Zoom. And that's really what it's saying, right? That's what I'm referring to, that if you'll take, and I wouldn't say that I'm a tough taskmaster. I would say that most RMs and trainers and even our great CEO, Brett, is not a tough taskmaster. Well, Brett might be in certain circumstances and ways, but that's what we need, right? We need to really surround ourselves with some tough taskmasters. Think about our own parents. Of course, they loved us, but hopefully, they were, to a certain degree, tough taskmasters, because they knew what would allow us to ultimately have some modicum level of success in life. And so they had to push us. They had to drive us to a certain degree. And there's all manners of ways of doing that. But I would tell you that most of my children would probably say that, my dad was a serious, tough taskmaster, but hopefully they would also say that they were loved. And that is the key to anybody being able to have success in life and in the business. If I'm talking to a Charana, one of our great agents in my region, Dela Cruz, and I'm pointing out little odds and ends that maybe she could do that would help her be more fruitful or successful, or I'm just wishing upon wish that she'll just try to mimic and mirror a little bit more how my conversations go with people, then, that's all that I can ask. That's all that I can hope. Sometimes, though, we need to be taken by the shirt collar, and shaken just a little bit and say, listen, you're almost there. You've just about got this. Don't quit. Don't give up. You're right around the corner from having great success. And really, what's crazy is success is just a level of continuity, right? Continuing to build line upon line, continuing to just strive forward, and learning and getting better. Many of us come into this with preconceived notions that either allow us to have success or cause us to struggle. And we've got to figure out which ones to set aside and which character traits to embellish and develop. And you can't do that unless you're in the work. You cannot do that unless you're in front of people and having conversations, many of them each and every day. And then live and learn, right? That's why we have our stat reports to kind of see where we're struggling. I think probably by and large we know where we struggle, but we need to do things that will allow us to really see where in the chain, we have those struggles. And then as we work to improve in those areas, more success will come your way. Well, thank you for letting me share that with you this morning here to begin with. Now we'd like to open it up for just any Q&A. Does anybody have any questions that they've been dealing with over the last week or so? Anything about the company, anything about promotions, anything about product, systems? I'm here for it. So you can either jump in or raise your hand and we'll call on you, and let's have a fun, good discussion here. Because if you got a question, I'm sure others do too.
Hey, Heath.
Yes,
John Hazelwood. Can you hear me okay?
Really good.
Sometimes.
Yes.
My question has to do with getting very familiar with, I'm a weekend kind of starting with Afortus. One of the things that was curious to me, and not to put a damper on background as far as annuities are concerned, when do you find the best opportunity to bring as a solution an annuity to the table to some of the clientele that we talk to?
Sure. Great question. Appreciate that. Typically, annuities, and the easy answer here is just simply when someone has a lump sum. I mean, that's the bottom line, a lump sum. Can you put a couple $100 a month into an annuity? Probably not. But if they've got a lump sum, and where can we find lump sums? Well, old 401ks or current 401ks if they're over the age of 59 and a half. Many of our teachers and professors, if they're over the age of 59 and a half, can roll their IRAs, their 401ks, their 403bs, their 457s, their TSP plans into an index strategy IRA, an annuity with us. And so really any lump sums, that's the perfect spot. Now, sometimes I've seen where agents realize, hey, here's a person that's got a few $100s a month to work with, but dang it, they're not healthy enough to be qualified for the life insurance portion of an IUL. And so they will suggest, why don't we just roll it into an annuity? And typically annuity companies like Fidelity and Guarantee will not take small, increments into their annuities. And so you need to have at least, I want to say 10 to 12,000 for them to look at. But most, lump sums, whether, as Jesse points out, it might be in a CD that they have just sitting out there where they're getting a modicum level of return, and it's kind of locked up. That money can easily be rolled over into the index strategy IRA. And why am I calling it the index strategy IRA instead of an annuity? Well, I do that on purpose. I don't want to throw any wild harebrained ideas to people who already have some wild harebrained connotations about annuities. So I'm going to call it, for as long as I can, the index strategy IRA. And then in a second, And in a third presentation, I'm going to be explaining that at some point, if they want to, they could annuitize this program and then have an additional benefit that the annuity can bring. But just real quickly while we're talking about this, thank you for bringing it up, John. What is the main, well, some people would say issue or problem with annuities, and that is that they're high in fees. But remember, they're referring to, in that situation, variable annuities almost all the time. Almost 100% of the time, if they say that annuities are high in fees, they're referring to the variable annuity, and they're just lumping all annuities into the same boat. And so again, that's why I don't like to use the word annuity until I can explain that the index strategy IRA, the fixed indexed annuity, has no management fees. And I'll use a great little chart that helps to explain that. Now, the chart itself is just an explanatory tool. It's not an official, process document that can explain exactly how indexing works. But I use it to explain how fees are paid inside of an index strategy IRA. And so just real quick, I see we have a couple other hands up. Let me just share this real fast. And if you'd like, I can put it into the chat box. But you see, you put your money, you're rolling over money from an IRA 401k. It goes into the account. They sweep that money into long-term bonds. And then anything they get above 2% in long-term bonds, they're taking, let me move it over a little bit here. They're taking anything above 2% in long-term bonds, they're sweeping that into a bond interest pool. Now notice a small little bit of the bond interest pool money, which again, that's not your money, right, John? Your money's sitting where? It's sitting in the long-term bonds here, safe and secure. Any cream they get off the top of that, they put into this bond interest pool and they go play with it. Most of it, they're playing with it to purchase index options so they can get a really good rate of return, whether the market goes up or down, because they're giving us the actual interest of the money we're linking our money to in the index. So our money sits in long-term bonds. It's linked to an index, whether it's S&P 500, Morgan Stanley, whatever, Barclays, BlackRock, however that index does, they credit that into our account and lock it in, throw it to long-term bonds, rinse and repeat. But a small little portion from the bond interest pool is what they're using to pay to manage the accounts. Can you see how there's just no fees? Because none of your money is paying for any of that. And that's a powerful explanatory tool right there. But anyways, great question. Hope that helps answer, where we've.
Real quick, you called it index strategy IRA?
Yep.
Or just an index strategy platform that gives us options?
Well, I normally call things the index strategy option, but using an annuity, I'll call it an index strategy IRA. And what does IRA stand for? Individual retirement annuity.
Okay.
Now, we don't have to call it an IRA. You can call it annuity if you want to. I'm just telling from my perspective, having done this for 20 years, I don't want to throw out annuity until I can properly explain it.
That's exactly why I asked the question. Thank you.
Very good. Yes, thank you. Let's go first to Tanya and then Rick. Go ahead, Tanya.
Hey, good morning. Hey, thank you. So I love, first of all, fixed index annuities. They are fantastic. Now, currently, though, I had never really had clients before that were still working and in their 70s. So something that I've come across right now with a couple of clients that my agents have is, for example, let's say you've got, there's one professor, age 72. He's participating in the ORP in the University of Texas. So the RMDs right now are protected by the still working clause. So if he was to roll over outside of the ORP, that, when he turns 73 here in a couple of months, it's going to activate. He's not going to be protected by that still working anymore in that account. So what would be the benefit of them doing that if they're still going to work for a couple of more years?
A great question. The largest annuity case that I did was about 2 years ago with this exact scenario. And why was he willing to roll not all of his ORP money, which is really just any other monies besides a pension, right? A 401k, a 403b, a 457, a TSP. These are ORPs. Does anybody know what ORP stands for? Other retirement plan, I think. ORP, other retirement plans. Okay. But all that I had to say was, listen, obviously you're working. So all of your qualified monies, your ORPs, your 401s, 403s, they're not subject to the required minimum distribution because you are still working. But, and this is a big but, we know at some point you're going to stop working and your nest eggs in those ORPs will continue to compound and grow, most likely, fingers crossed, right? We don't have a big market adjustment. And so, for two big reasons, we should start to move some of those monies into a red zone retirement or just a protective retirement position, right? Which means let's take some of those monies, let's move them into an index strategy IRA where we can do two things. One, we can protect against downsides. He can't protect his money with market risk where they're currently at in those ORPs, in those 401s and IRAs. I'm not suggesting taking all of it, but a good little chunk would be wise. Now, the other reason why it's wise, besides just the protection of that money, two, is because it would be smart to start paying some tax on that money now. It's almost like doing a Roth conversion right now with that money, right? Let's move a portion of it over, do the RMD on that smaller portion, deal with a little bit of that tax now, get it out of the way, so you're not being hit with the full weight of taxes in the future when you do retire. How does that sound, Tanya? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was already thinking that it would be a good idea to lead with, at least protecting some of it, because although, like one client in particular, we had the conversation on his risk tolerance and he did move the majority of it to moderate, but I said, yeah, moderate's great, but it doesn't mean zero loss. So, now it was the concern of the RMDs, but no, I love that. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And yes, if anybody does have another thought on that too, please throw it in the chat box, or if you'd like to make the point, we'd love to hear from you. Rick, let's go to you, brother.
All righty. So I agree with you as far as introducing an annuity as an indexed retirement account. And, the question I have is, what are your transitional phrases, not just with the annuity, but also with the IUL? Sometimes, we start to talk a little bit about the tax advantage plans and the index plan. They love the index, they love the tax savings. What are the words you say in the IUL and then also in the annuity as far as your transitional words, to bring them into the fold when you kind of pull back the covers and let them know this is actually a plan that's built under an umbrella of insurance as pertains to the IUL, or when it is an annuity, when you bring that word up, that annuity word up, which can be a nasty word in some people's vernacular. What are your transitional phrases? How do you go about that?
Honestly, it's pretty simple. I just say, listen, you big ding dong. You need to use this plan because of this, this, and that. No, oftentimes I'll let the graphs or I'll let the slides do the talking for me. And so let me just give you an example. On the annuity side, a little bit different, of course, than this, but when I'm talking about tax advantaged in the second presentation, obviously you could use municipal bonds or Roth IRA. But the first time, you guys, that I'm even bringing up insurance is here in the second presentation, really towards the end of it. And I'm pointing out we could also use section 7702. That's your index strategy. And it just so happens that it's governed by section 7702 of the IRS code, which comes with this little umbrella of life insurance. And then, of course, I'll explain, because it's under that umbrella of life insurance, you're able to you're able to access that money anytime you want, tax and penalty free, as long as there's cash value to use. But it does three things for you. So I very quickly convert from saying, hey, it comes with this little umbrella of life insurance, but then I point out the three main cool features of it, which allow for you to have a death benefit, permanent, never goes away, stays in force for the rest of your life. Never have to show proof of insurance ever again. You get it now, you're good to go. 2, it's a tax sheltering umbrella. The government wants you to have insurance, and so you never have to worry about that money being taxed, because that's the incentive the government gives you to have it. If you have insurance, then the government doesn't have to take care of your family, and so they give you extra benefits or options or benefits to help you. And then 3, it is a living benefit. And here's where I spend most of my time, Rick. I just talk about the power of a living benefit, in that if you have a chronic or critical illness, a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, you can access that death benefit money while you're alive. And I make that a big deal. That's where my focus is, so that they're not concerned with, I got to buy some life insurance. No, instead it's, wow, this living benefit sounds cool. And what's the best way to share the power of living benefit? Tell a story of folks that you work with. And if you don't have one yet, just borrow a story. Hey, we were working with a client that in doing the annual review, that's not meaning you, that means we, as in the vernacular of us as Afortus. I have done this 3 times over the last year alone, where a client has had a chronic or critical illness, had a heart attack. They put a stent in, he's fine. And during our annual review, he says, Heath, are you telling me that I can use this insurance money now? Because even though I haven't passed away, absolutely. He took that money out, not all of it, but a good portion of it, paid off his mortgage, paid off a car, put money in the bank to have liquid cash because he's got a daughter getting married. And then I do this, which if I were you, I would get good at doing this. I would do this. I say this just this way. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Yeah. And they have to absolutely agree with me. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely amazingly cool. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? And that's what you get to have access to when you use a 7702. So I use that, to kind of introduce. Now, on the annuity side, it's not necessarily more nuanced. It's just a matter of fact. I'm going to explain the index strategy IRA. And then when I get into the actual illustration, I was doing an illustration last night with a client who we already did. The wife is the teacher that she's putting $750 a month into an IUL now. She got approved. We did all that kind of stuff. And then in the course of our conversation, her husband mentions, well, I've got, this money in an old 403B and an old 457 to the tune of $240,000. So here's where the simple transition comes into the power of calling it annuity. Here's your 240. Using the accelerator product. Now, he is only 48, but the accelerator in 10 years, at 58, he could retire. So that's why I'm using the accelerator, because it does give some nice bonuses. He gets a 10% bonus from the beginning, so 240 goes to 264. Now I'm using the Morgan Stanley index options, so you can see very good return. His 240 in 10 years grows to 733. Now you could also use the same expression that I just used before, right? Where you could say, isn't that amazing? Holy cow, your 240 went to 733 in 10 years. Yeah, get crazy a little bit. Get excited for them. And they're going to get excited and show it. But future or past performance is no indication of future results, but this is how it's actually done over the last 10 years. And then you can point out, it also comes with that bonus, the 7.5% bonus, blah, 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 blah. Now, here's where you can introduce the annuity concept. You've got 2 ways, my friend, to take income from this program. One way is from the account value. You can take 10% a year from that at any time, no problemo. If you need to take more than 10%, you might run into some surrender charges in the first 10 years. So try and put money in here that you won't need more than 10% of every year. But then if you want to take money from this larger bucket, which by the way, because of the 7.5% bonus grows to 1.2 million, you've got 2 ways to take money out of here, out of that larger bucket. One way is just through a guaranteed withdrawal payment to you. At the age of 58, you see it'll give you $48,000 a year now for the rest of your life. Okay. And then literally a year later, should you have a chronic or critical illness, it will double that income to you to 108. Should you have that heart attack, stroke, or cancer. Now, that's just through a guaranteed withdrawal payment. You could, though, if you wanted to, take it in the form of an annuity. Boom. That's the first time I even say or use the word annuity. And I say it by saying this. You could, at this point, this program has a cool feature which will allow you to annuitize that money. Now, what does that mean? And this is the first time I even bring it up. You could annuitize the money, meaning you'll take this 1.2 million right here, which is your lump sum sitting in the program, and you will actually give that to the insurance company, and they will simply give you an income stream for the rest of your life, and then double that income stream should you have a chronic or critical illness. Okay, that feature is called annuitization. You never have to annuitize. I would suggest you don't even think about annuitizing until you start to sense your health going, because we want this money to continue to rock and roll for many years of growth. But once you start to sense your health going, you have the option, the feature, if you want to. You could annuitize this, and then they will give you a guaranteed income stream. But the difference between annuitization and just taking the guaranteed withdrawal payment is if you annuitize it, now that money is no longer counted as your assets for the Medicare and Medicaid spend down rules. Do you see I just threw a very powerful, good, positive light on annuitizing the money? Very important, very important. So the way you pitch it, not until the very end, and you just simply point it out as a very cool feature available to you if you wanted to exercise that feature. How does that sound, Rick? Does that make sense?
That sounds good. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. And of course, I was going to say that the illustrations, man, you guys, if you could just get to an illustration. What do you think that guy was saying last night as he was seeing this illustration? Do you think he was coming up with all manner of, oh, that doesn't make sense, or oh, that doesn't, I don't like this, or I'm not sure about that? Do you think he was saying anything like that? No. That sucker had the biggest smile on his face the whole time I'm going through this illustration. And by the time I'm done, right, what is he saying? He's saying, I don't think so. No. He's saying, oh my heavens, wow, that looks terrific. Now, when he says that, what do I know I must answer with? I need to answer with some gotchas, right? I got to rip it away from him. Right at the point where he's saying, ooh, man, this looks terrific. I'm going to say, yeah, it does. It does look great. It looks, it will be awesome for you. But, and it's a big but, and you're not going to like it, there are some gotchas with this. Now, how old is he again, you guys? He's 48, right? So I can build that right into my very first gotcha, which makes the gotcha not even seem like a gotcha. But I'm going to use the gotcha, right? Because I want to take it away a little bit. And the first gotcha I say is, listen, this is not as liquid as if it were just money sitting in your bank account. We cannot be accessing this money as you can't just put it in and then the next year pull it all out. But where's your money coming from, sir? Well, your money's coming from my old 403B or my old 457. That's right. And are those plans qualified plans? Yes, sir, they are. Which means you can't touch them without a penalty until the age of 59 and a half anyways, right? Yes. So, same thing here with this one. You don't want to touch this thing. You don't want to be moving. Really, you're not going to touch the money till 59 and a half anyways. Right, sir? Yes, that's correct. I mean, I'm not planning on touching that money where it's at there. I won't plan on touching it where it's at here now. So do you see how I got to use a pretty cool gotcha, and he understood that it wasn't really a gotcha anyways? So I'm starting to take things away. What's another good gotcha with this? Well, you probably want to try and not take more than 10% a year out of this. Do you think that would be too big of a problem to not take more than 10%? No. I mean, 10%, you guys, because in the beginning of my annuity presentation, I am destroying the 4% rule. That's how you close business on an annuity. You tell folks, listen, retirement is living off the interest your nest egg can kick off. So most folks, and this is very important, please, if you can remember something in the conversational piece to share with other people, remember this next few lines. Financial independence is living off the interest that your nest egg can kick off, your 401s, your IRAs, your 403bs, whatever, your money in the bank. Financial independence is living off the interest that those can kick off. So most people will take their 401ks or 403bs when they enter the red zone, which is 10 years before retirement or in retirement. They'll move those monies into much more conservative positions for fear of loss, because that's your nest egg. You can't lose any of that money. You've got to make sure that money stays strong. And any losses because of market risk reduces your annual income. Could you imagine going from having $20,000 a year coming from this one little pot of money to all of a sudden, because of market losses, only being able to have $10,000 a year? That's a big deal. You just lost 10 grand a year in income. So most folks will move those monies, what used to be called the 4% rule. You can move that money into more conservative positions, safe, and rely on about 4%. Now, because of market volatility, that rule has been ratcheted down to about 2.5 to 3. So let's say you've got $1 million and that money can give you 4%. Well, that's 40 grand a year. That's not bad. But 40 grand a year is still not good enough, right? It's still not really going to provide you the same lifestyle that you had when you were making 100,000 a year. So how do we fix that? Well, let's look over here at the illustration, my friends. Here's your 240, right? That can give you, if you retired right now, that can give you 10%. So that'll give you 24,000 right there. But let it grow. By the time you're 58, 733, that's going to give you 73,000 a year if you just lived off the interest that can kick off. Do you see the difference? If that money was sitting inside of an IRA or 401k and you were relying on that 4%, let's just use that 4% rule for kicks. I'm grabbing my calculator real quick for us. Got to come over here to it. And so I'm going to use the illustration. I'm going to take that 733, which is the amount he's got in the account. And we could say maybe that's sitting inside of your 401 or 403. We never put it over here. At 4%, so take that number times 4%, that equals 29,000 a year. Now, you're used to living off of 109,000 a year, but your nest egg here would only give you 29,000 a year. That's a problem, right? We want to fix that. So that's the power of using this. How much can you take off of this annuity if you wanted to every year without running the risk of losing principal? I like to use the rule of thumb of 10%. So 10% of that 733, is it likely that he could continue to get 10% a year return on that money on average? Sure is, absolutely. And so that would give him 73,000. Now, do you want to retire with 73,000 a year or 29,000 a year? Right? That's not that tough of a question. Or the answer there is pretty in your favor, right? Help them understand that. Now, could you not, Jen, just say, well, what if a client says, I don't believe that? Can I really average 10%? Well, okay, why don't we show up, or why don't we share hypotheticals? Go ahead, everybody. Get ready with your screen share or your screenshot. Take a screenshot of this, right? Capture this image. This is the non-guaranteed hypothetical aggregate account performance for the Morgan Stanley returns. Can you see it? Okay, I would just take a screenshot of this and say the most recent last 10 years, 2015 to 2025, Morgan Stanley averaged 13.31. In the very least favorable 10 years over the last 30 years, you still almost got 8. In the very least favorable years, my friends, 10 years of that. And then the most favorable, 16.5 almost. So this is, if you will, proof in the pudding that they can count on potentially 10% a year. Now, will there be some years where that's not necessarily the case? Sure, it's always possible. But I'm just making the point that you can very easily rely on about 10% a year. Any questions on that? Any thoughts on how that's helpful when you're showing that to people? Jesse, I know you mentioned that you're just in the throes now of dealing with, helping folks utilize annuities through CDs and stuff that you're finding that people have. Any of this stuff that I shared with you so far, do you feel like this is something you could utilize in your conversations with people?
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody transcribed this, you need to look this over, and because I think you gave some sauce. But just when you're doing the F&A and you say, talked about the way your money grows fixed, like a bank account CD. A CD is now what, 4.2%, and then you can just lead. So you obviously got the word CD in their mind, and then if you can beat that rate, those people are sold. Tomorrow I got one for $50,000 that the CD was up a week ago, and I pretty much just closed with, well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna search some rates, and if I can beat the rate you were getting and you absolutely love it, let's do it, right? And bam. And with CDs, it's their money, so all they have to do is write a check, and that annuity is a quick one.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you've gone through a few annuities where it's been very, very cumbersome trying to get the money from where they're at over into the annuity. So you know how nice it is just to do a CD exchange for sure. Good. Well, hey, I'll tell you what though, Jesse, because you've gone through all of that hassle, that's a hassle that you know how to do better next time, and you'll just keep getting good at it. So sometimes we say, man, that was a hell of a lot of work to try to get that money over, but now you know, and you've got some quickeners to make that just easier next time. Let's go first to Tess and then to Cameron. Go ahead, Tess.
Yeah, I did an appointment with Chandra and I had her actually do the presentation. And it was a federal employee. In her savings, she had almost 100,000. And Chandra did a wonderful job on going through all of that. And the other appointment did not hold. And I just cannot figure out why. After being shown how much more they could make and be better off, and they're still like flake out. I just don't. It's like, I don't know. It's like you can show them and sometimes they just, I don't know what it is.
It is a frustrating thing, Tess. I hear you loud and clear on that. Some will, some won't. So what? Next, right? You keep moving to the next. You do the best you can and always follow up. And so I'm going to share with you a little video that you can then share with that client. Hey, we've kind of lost momentum here. This is what you could text to them. Hey, we've lost momentum here with that great program we talked about. Take 5 minutes if you would. Watch this and let's get back together again. I'm going to share that video with you. This might be a helpful answer to your talk.
That'd be great. And one more thought is that, so if there is a financial advisor that is involved in their affairs and stuff, it's like, so they usually make about 1%, right? Is that what the advisor, a good average of what they make?
Yeah. Yep.
So can you show them how much they wouldn't have by having to pay that 1% out on a demonstration?
Sure. You could easily point out, instead of getting 10%, they're really only getting 9% because of that 1% fee. That's something you could show for sure. And that 1% though here's the really important point. That 1% that they pay it whether the financial advisor makes them money or not. That financial advisor could lose 20% in a year and he still gets his 1% fee. So that's a point to make there. Okay, now I noticed that there was one other question there. Cameron, I believe, go ahead.
It was just a comment. This has been really, really great information. I am new to the company, and Jesse kind of brought up some stuff that made me think, because I've worked mainly in a bank environment with security licenses and with financial advisors. And so the CD thing, usually those higher interest rates are for a set period of time, and the client doesn't even realize when it drops to almost nothing. Also, the FDIC insurance, they think, they're real big on that. So, utilizing an insurance company where, the state guarantees a certain amount is a good conversation as well. But also, the advisors that are charging fees for managed money, they're not managing it. They are putting it in this little formula, and a third party is rebalancing it. So not only are they paying a fee, but they have no safety of their principal whatsoever. So just some talking points there if people have questions or have comebacks with, well, this is safe at the bank or whatever the case is. And then too, with now, not everybody's using, the traditional banks where they can actually go and get their money. It's, that right there, they're not able to just access it or truly get the percentage rates that they're looking for. And those monies are being taxed yearly and forever.
Yep, great points, Cameron. That's wonderful. You shared that. Hey, whose team are you on? Which region are you in?
I am with Michael and Woody and
Okay.
and Tanya and a bunch of others that seem
Sure.
to be really good
Sure.
go getters. Tanya, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I said her
Sure.
name incorrectly, but yeah, I just started, so I'm just getting in there and trying to find my leads and get going. But y'all have some really great information, and I really like the retirement, the full service retirement talk. It's really nice to
Good.
know that we're really learning about the entire picture.
Wonderful. Well, so you're a runner, and we expect good things. That's a good group.
Thanks.
All right, let's do this. 2 quick points on that. Sometimes folks say my CD comes due in 6 months or 9 months or whatever, and that's when I get the 4%. And so sometimes folks don't move forward with doing the rollover because they want to get that 4%, at the end of the term. Well, remember, what's the nice benefit of the accelerator product? It comes with a 10% bonus from day one. So they might give up that 4%, but they get 10% from day one by just doing the rollover now. So why wait the 6 to 9 months? One thought there. And then another one is, and I probably have had more thoughts go through my mind that I wanted to share that I'm forgetting than I'm remembering. But Anne Moore brings a good point in the chat box where she says they may say that looks too good to be true. And you know what? Whether they say it or not, when they're looking at that illustration, they certainly are thinking it. And what is nice if they will voice that. And if they don't, you could even say, hey, you might be looking at this and saying, boy, this seems too good to be true. And if you're thinking that, you're getting it. You're getting the picture. Yeah, there are things better than what you're currently doing. You're getting the picture, right? There are so many good things that you're not aware of that are out there for you to use. And so take advantage of it. That's my job. My job as a pension professional is to help you understand the 4 pillars and taking advantage of them. And there are many that don't even know about the wonderful options available to help them have income during retirement. Now you do. Now you know. And so let's take advantage of it. So you can turn that right around easily and saying, yeah, for sure. You get it. This is awesome. This is terrific. And it's a contract. I'm not showing you anything that's not contractual. So good stuff there. Someone also brought up the point, hey, is this going to be is there a way that this is being recorded? Well, keep in mind, these are always being recorded now and always have been, but now they're getting posted to the Afortus YouTube station. Maybe it's not a station, but account, right? So you can go very shortly after this to the Afortus YouTube and you can rewatch this conversation. That'll be helpful for you. Okay, now I mentioned that I wanted to share 2 quick things on the annuity side. Number 1, in order to write a product or to write an annuity, you need to be appointed or you need to have done the training for that particular annuity. So let me just share real quickly what that means. Some of you are already aware of it, and I apologize. But just real quick, if you'll come into the F&G website, here across the top of across all the tabs, just come into where it says Sales Tools. Training. And where it says Training, click on Annuity Product. Okay, Annuity Product. And then this Required Annuity Product Training will pop up. All you've got to do is scroll down to the particular annuity that you're going to pitch or that you're going to sell. And before you can write the application up, you must have read through this material. So here's the Accelerator Plus. That's the illustration that I just showed you. And so you'll just want to make sure that you have the date taken And you can see I had that done back in 2019 for the Accelerator Plus. So all that you need to do is just click on this. You can see the ones that I haven't done, like this immediate income. It allows you to click on the link. And then what that does is it just simply takes you to a little tutorial where all you've got to do is read the documents here, and it will take you right through. 18 pages. All you've got to do is just click through it, okay? And at the end, click I agree, and then that means you've done that training module. And that's a modicum level of, all you got to do is hit next, right? Just hit next, and it will take you to page 2 and then page 3. You don't even have to read the material, but it would be wise to read it, not that big a deal. And then you will have that training done that will allow F&G to allow you to submit the application. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, now, I mentioned to you, in closing here, I want to play for you this video, which, as per usual, I'll put in the chat box. This is the Red Zone Retirement Method, which basically is a tutorial on the power of using index strategy IRAs. And if someone doesn't meet with you, wouldn't hurt to just share this with them and say, hey, we didn't get a chance to visit. I wanted you to get this information. Watch this video. Let's meet up again in a few days or next week at your earliest convenience, because this is too big of a deal for you to miss out on. You can see any manner of ways to utilize this. I'll put this video in the chat box so you can download it too and have it for you to use. But let's watch this together. It's just 5 minutes.
Welcome to this explainer. So, if you've been diligently saving for years, you probably stare at your retirement account.
Just in case, I'm going to maximize the sound. I forgot to do that again.
Balance every now and then and just wonder, well, what comes next? Today, we're diving straight into the Red Zone Retirement Method from our source material. We're going to figure out how to...
By the way, I'm calling it the Red Zone Retirement just to differentiate myself from everybody else. You can come up with a name that differentiates you. Here's the principle, my friends. Good is good, better is better, but different is best. Remember that, please. Good is good, better is better, but different is best, because they'll remember you, right? They'll remember the tag, Red Zone Retirement. And hopefully they'll understand what that means, because you've had a little bit of a conversation about them being in the red zone, using the football vernacular, close to being in touchdown. This video will go into it a little bit.
Take a stagnant balance and actually turn it into a reliable, lifelong paycheck. Let's kick things off with a pretty provocative thought from the source. Simply having the big numbers sitting in an account, that doesn't actually mean you have a retirement plan. You know, someone might build up a massive 401k, but without a strategy, that pile of money just sits there, completely vulnerable to the unpredictable winds of the market. A real strategy has to answer the only question that truly matters. How old will you be when the money actually runs out? Section 1. The hidden income gap. To really grasp why that big balance just isn't enough, we need to talk about the income gap. It's this silent threat lurking right beneath the surface of your retirement security. Basically, it's the literal mathematical difference between the theoretical income your savings can generate and the cold, hard cash you actually need to buy groceries, pay for healthcare, and just enjoy your life every single month. Now, traditionally, standard industry advice tells retirees they can safely withdraw just 3 to 4% of their portfolio every year without running dry. And people base decades of retirement dreams on this. But we really have to ask, what does 3 to 4% actually look like in the real world? Well, here's where the math breaks down. Think about it. A $1 million nest egg, using that quote-unquote safe withdrawal rate, only gives you about $35,000 a year before taxes. For most of us, that completely falls short of covering inflation, rising healthcare costs, and the actual lifestyle you want.
Let's stop playing.
Stop playing.
All right, hold on one second. I tried to take that video and put it into the chat box. Sorry about that. Probably shouldn't have done that.
Gotta wait till it's done, I guess.
Yeah. Give me just one more second here. I'll come back to it. Just wanted to do it so y'all had a chance to download it while we were still doing our meeting. I'm going to fast forward it here to kind of where
actually look like in the real world? Well, here's where the math breaks down. Think about it. A $1 million nest egg, using that quote-unquote safe withdrawal rate, only gives you about $35,000 a year before taxes. For most of us, that completely falls short of covering inflation, rising healthcare costs, and the actual lifestyle you want to live. And the moment the stock market has a bad year early in your retirement, that safe number becomes a whole lot less safe. Section 2. Entering the financial red zone.
One quick comment. Even if you don't share this video with any prospects, which what a waste, right? To have such a cool tool and not be sharing it with people. But even if you just used it for you, this is your annuity second presentation. Really, this is it. And so if you would just watch this over and over to make it comfortable for you, and then you know how to share this information, this video has done its job for you, because I'm teaching you how to fish, right? Just by learning this video, this is what your second presentation is, and all the concepts here. If you can share this, you'll be able to catch fish for the rest of your life.
Think of your money like a football game. When a team crosses into the red zone, right near the goal line, they absolutely do not play recklessly. Why? Because a turnover there could cost them the entire game. They protect the ball. Retirement works exactly the same way. During your working years, a market drop is really just a paper loss. You have plenty of time to recover. But in the red zone, those crucial years just before and during retirement, a market downturn causes permanent damage. You're actively withdrawing from a shrinking pot. At that point, you only want to move forward, never backward. Section 3. Fixed indexed annuities explained. So how exactly do we protect the ball? The source highlights a primary tool designed specifically for this, a fixed index annuity, or an FIA for short. Now, this isn't a direct market investment, it's an insurance contract. It credits you interest based on how a market index performs, but, and here is the absolute magic part, it has a guaranteed floor. That means you literally never lose your principal to a market downturn. Plus, it gives you the option to convert that money into a guaranteed lifetime paycheck. Section 4. 6 points of protection. This is where it gets really interesting, because an FUAA simultaneously tackles 6 absolute must-have goals for anyone in the red zone. First, you get to grow your money tied to a market index, but without those direct market risks. Second, you capture the gains in the up years. Third, you completely remove the guesswork. No more trying to time the market. Fourth, and this is huge, you protect your principal with that 0% floor. Down years simply don't hurt you. Fifth, you turn your savings into guaranteed lifetime income. And finally, by bypassing the fear and greed that cause most average investors to totally misjudge the market, this method historically outperforms the average investor. Section 5. Real retirement results. When we actually look at how this plays out for people in the real world, it's honestly a journey from deep anxiety to total clarity. People usually start with that large balance, but no real plan, right? And that lack of strategy just breeds constant worry. There's always this nagging fear of a market crash or outliving their money. But by actively closing that income gap we talked about, the whole picture transforms. That fear is entirely replaced by the incredible peace of mind that only comes from having a structured, reliable paycheck. Section 6. Choosing the third option. Here's the big takeaway. You really don't have to choose between being safe, but totally stuck at 3%, or risking it all in the market. The default financial path usually tries to force us into one of those two boxes. You're either playing it too safe and failing to beat inflation, or you're chasing growth and risking permanent, unrecoverable losses. The fixed indexed annuity acts as this highly effective third option. It gives you the principal protection and the guaranteed income. It might not be the default choice on a typical corporate 401k menu, and sure, it's not hyped up on financial TV, but it is a strategy purpose-built for surviving the red zone. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Actually, it's the only question that truly matters once you're in the financial red zone. Take a close look at your own strategy and ask yourself, does your money produce an income that you can absolutely count on, no matter what the stock market decides to do tomorrow? Because if all you have is a balance, you just don't have a plan yet. Thank you so much for exploring the Red Zone retirement method with us today.
Okay, pretty cool tool. And all of you've got B leads or folks that you've started to work with that just didn't finish that conversation that you could share that video with.
Will you go ahead and put that in the chat now, Heath?
Yes, I'm going to put it in the chat now.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So Heath, is this the one that I would use to follow up on that appointment, or do you have another one?
No, you could use that.
Okay.
Yeah, you could use that. Let's see here. All right, it's uploading into the chat box now. And again, this basically what I just did was I just took my script, or I recorded myself giving a second presentation on an annuity, and then I downloaded the script of that. You can either take the video file from Zoom and put it into Notebook LM, or into Chat GPT, or into whatever chat you're using, and then you would have that there for you in the sense of the script, or chat could download that and then put the verbiage or the video file right into Notebook LM, and then tell Notebook LM what you want. I want a less than 6-minute video distilling this information, right? And then they'll create that video for you. And so all that is available. Now, that is in the chat box. Take a moment to double click on that. You should be able to save it to your desktop.
Got it. Thank you.
You betcha. So could you not use that with all of your B leads, or those other videos I used the other day? Sure. And what if you send it out to 50 people and you only get 3 or 4 reactions back? Oh, darn it, only 3 or 4. So send the same 50 people the same video again the next month, right? And have a system to get in front of more people, because it's just a timing thing. When they get that video and that little text from you this month, it might not be right timing for them, but it will be next, or it could be the next month.
Welcome to this explainer.
It's just too many of us quit too soon trying, right? We don't keep stumbling forward. We don't keep striving. And sometimes we just don't have systems that allow us to win. So build yourself a little bit of a system, build some consistency with your efforts. Keep getting 10 new people in front of every week, and then use a good sound follow-up system. Have you guys, I'm going to leave with this. Hopefully you're able to download that Red Zone link that I put into the chat box, and sometimes it might take a little bit. So let me just finish with this. You understand the principle of the iceberg? What do you see above the ocean line? Sometimes, it's a pretty big iceberg, right? But in reality, where is the bulk of the iceberg? It's under the waterline. And we're missing it because what's above is those 10 first appointments that you strive to meet with every week. 10 first. But what's under the water, you guys? Thousands and thousands and thousands of potential clients that have come across your plate over the course of years and years and years. That's the bulk of your business. If you'll just have a strategy to tap into that, right? With just a simple, quick little text. Hey, thinking about you. I create a little video with you specifically in mind. Take a quick listen and let's talk about it at your earliest convenience on how it can be helpful for you. All the best, Jesse or Steve or Heath, right? And then have it systematic. If you aren't organized enough to do that, could you not pay a virtual assistant $10 an hour for 2 hours a week? Just pay them $20 a week to systematically send this video out to your people if you're not organized enough to do it. I mean, is that not a game changer right there? Pay somebody $20 a week to systematically build your business along with you. I'm just saying 2 hours a week, they could easily get that video out to everybody. And then do it again the next month to those that didn't follow up. And those that did follow up, right, your VA is putting them into your calendar for those follow-ups. I mean, come on, guys. What a wonderful idea. You are welcome. You're welcome for that. All right, I'll let you go. It's been great. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate y'all. Be good. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Heath.
You're welcome.